Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Emmert. I'm the Vice President of Communications for the San Jose Sharks. I'd like to welcome everyone here today at SAP Center, as well as all of those watching live on NBC Sports California and streaming live on sjsharks.com. With a game less than 8 hours away, we're going to keep this pretty businesslike today. In just a moment, we'll start with some opening comments from General Manager Doug Wilson. Doug will then turn it over to Bob Boughner, who will also have some brief opening remarks. And at that point, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions for Bob only. Since it is a game day to night and he's preparing, we're going to go ahead and excuse Bob following his Q&A session, and we'll go ahead and conclude the press conference with any questions that you guys have for General Manager Doug Wilson. So at this time, we'll go ahead and start with Sharks General Manager Doug Wilson.
Well, thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be here. This has been a very difficult decision, and it's not a decision that we make lightly. I think it's probably important, too, that I clear up that this is strictly a hockey-related decision in some of the recent situations around the league, so I think it's important that that is clarified. I can't thank enough for Pete DeBoer, what he's done for this organization, not only the coaching job, but as a man, as a person. Heading over to his house yesterday was one of the toughest things I've done in this business. So not only are they great coaches and great people, and they will land on their feet and do extremely well going forward. And it's not just Pete. It's Steve Spott, Dave Barr, Johan Hedberg. So in no way can we forget what they've done for us. As I said, these are very difficult decisions, and you've got to look back at the success and journey that we've had, but then honestly take a look at the results that have been unacceptable this year. There comes a time as a GM that you have to make a decision. It's not easy. It's not about the blame game. It's about finding solutions. And it's interesting being around our team, and it's been an interesting journey this year. You know, we came out of the gates, didn't play great. We had a meeting probably about a month ago, and then we went and I think won 11 of 13 games. And it's not just that winning games indicates how you're playing, but it showed kind of what we're capable of, because we beat some pretty good teams. I think we beat Vegas, Nashville, Edmonton, Arizona, Carolina, and the Islanders. So we kind of showed what our capabilities were. And there was also some games where we might not have won, but we actually played really well. There was a game in this building against Winnipeg that you saw it. There was also some games during the season that we didn't like how we played. And it wasn't just segments of the season, but there was times where, even within a game, Minnesota, I remember that game like it was yesterday, Detroit, even the Arizona game recently, we started the game, probably played the first period was the worst period I've seen us play all year, and then we flipped it, and off we went, and we played extremely well, ended up winning the game 4-2. Difference between this year and last year is last year we went through this, I think 27 games in, we had a meeting, and we came out of it and we played very well for a long period of time. I think the concern this year was we did the 11 of 13 in November, and then unfortunately we regressed. We had a 5-game losing streak that you could just see that something wasn't quite right. The energy level wasn't quite there, and it kind of led us to the point of making this decision. And again, this is not a blame game. This is, again, trying to find solutions for this group. This is the first time as a GM I've made this decision in season, but I felt that it was needed. I think one of the things that you look at as a team is certain indicators and measurables that tell you how you're playing so that you are asking the right questions. And a couple of things that really stood out. One is, we're leading the league in penalties, and that indicates something, which was interesting because we have the #1 penalty killing team in the league also. So that whether that's sustainable when you're killing that many penalties is a problem. The fact that we gave up the most quality scoring chances in our own slot area of any team in the league is a concern. The fact that we were not creating many scoring chances in the offensive zone in that same area, which is really, if you win those areas of the ice, as Boogie will tell you, you're usually a pretty good hockey team. The ability to kill penalties a man short indicates that when you have that focus, you can be a really good hockey team defensively. And when you're strong defensively, that's the genesis of getting the puck back, attacking offensively, and playing good hockey. So I'm not an academic. We look at numbers, we ask questions, but trying to figure out how we can be one of the best defending teams a man short and not be able to apply that 5-on-5 is one of those things that we have to find an answer to and a solution to. Thoughts on around the league. This business under a cap system, every team is going to have their strengths and their weaknesses. We like the bones of our team. We think we have 4 guys that scored 30 goals last year, 3 Norris candidate defensemen or should be candidates for that award. We've got other players that have performed at a high level at certain points in the past. But you also have to have a blend, and you've got to integrate younger players into your organization, and that's something that all teams face. So when we look at our team, basically, have we played up to our expectations? No, we haven't. Have we been inconsistent? Yes, we have. And that's what we're looking for. It's led us to making the decisions of letting a very good staff go, but also understanding at that point that now we have to find a group of people that can come in and bring the skill sets and ingredients that you need. Coaching is a really difficult job in this game, and maybe even more so in this league than ever. And what it comes down to is coaching, teaching, inspiring, and adjusting. And that's a lot to throw on people, especially as a team that maybe not have as many practices as a lot of other teams in the league, but that's what we're looking for. So when we bring in the group that we have, Bob Boughner now, this will be his second team that he's coached in the NHL, and he's gathered a lot of experience from being around us, the way he played the game, the way he thinks the game and loves the game. He'll have his own beliefs and I think feelings. Plus he's got great relationships with our players and has a trust level. There's a history of coaches around the league getting their second opportunity, whether it be Craig Berube, Mike Sullivan, Bruce Cassidy, that have used that experience and springboarded on and been very successful. We also added Roy Sommer, which I think most of you are aware, has run our Barracuda team, has developed players for many years, tremendous integrity, honesty, trust of players, relationships with guys that are not just young players that have come through and matriculated through our system. Took him 21 or 22 years to get the recall up to the NHL, so there's a story in there somewhere too. Mike Ricci, Evgeny Nabokov, you know them as outstanding players. Their passion for the game, the work that they've put in with this organization, I think will complement what Bob is looking for. Gives us the ingredients to, one, have the trust of our players right now when they speak, people listen. I look forward to them having the opportunity to work with this group. And while we, again, not pleased to having made this decision, and a lot of our players I've talked to and I've talked to Pete, we wish him the best. We know he'll end up on his feet, as will the rest of the staff, but we now have another journey to start tonight. And with that, I'd like to introduce our new head coach, Bob Boughner.
Thank you, Doug. Obviously, yesterday, sitting up here right now, a lot of mixed emotions, and Pete and the rest of the gang there, they were, Pete's been a great mentor to me, a loyal friend, and someone that I have a deep respect for, and I think, the same goes for the rest of the staff that was let go. So those are hard times, and again, it's just it's mixed emotions as I sit here, and I also look at the flip side of that, and I think this is a unique opportunity, an opportunity to come in and give a fresh approach, a clean slate to a lot of the players, tinker and adjust and make some changes to our game to find that level we need to be a more consistent team, and a team that's going to be a hard team to play against. So. We introduced some things this morning, and again, it hasn't really sank in and been that long of a time to get to work here. But I think it was a good morning for our team, and I think we're looking forward to the challenge tonight. I know I'm looking for the challenge moving forward here. And I want to thank Doug and the rest of the organization, and again, Pete. It's a very proud moment. So thank you.
So again, we're going to go ahead and open up for questions. We're going to start with questions directly for Bob so that we can cut him loose so he can prep for the game tonight. And then any questions that you have for Doug, we can take those as well. We do have a couple of microphones here in the audience, so for those here, please just raise a hand and we'll get a mic to you. Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah. Bob, the one number that sort of follow this team from last season into this season is that even strength save percentage. It was a problem last season, and this year it's again at the bottom of the league. Are there things you can do system-wise to fix that number, and how much of it is just on the goaltenders having to be better?
Well, I think not just the goaltenders. I think it's everybody's got to be better. And that, yes, I think there's some things we can we're going to change in the system a little bit, and I think that we're going to adjust. But I think we just got to take care of that high danger area a little more, and give Jonesy and Deller more support. It's not saying it's not on them as well. We, hopefully, Nabi coming in is obviously a great voice for those guys. I think he's going to challenge both those guys and give up maybe a little different look to them. So, I think it's a team thing. I don't think it's a goalie thing, and I think that's what we're going to look to tighten up for sure.
Greg?
Bob, I'll go to the other end of the ice now. Second in goals per game last season, 24th right now this season. Is that just a function of the power play not playing up the standards, or are there other things that you see from your vantage point that can change offensively for the team?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways you can approach things. I think that we are going to have a different look offensively. I think we're a team that, and I remember a few years ago when I was here, we're a team that outshot you and attacked you and put you under pressure all night. And it came off a forecheck. It would come off our ozone play. And, when we jumped on teams, we never let them have a breath. And right now there's not enough of that. And we got to get back to that attack mode and get more bodies in front of the net and more pucks to the net and those kind of things. But, yeah, there's a couple things that we're looking at, and we've already adjusted a few things this morning. And, it's gonna take a little time here, but I really think that the players will jump on board and be excited about it.
Bob, Doug talked about the difference between the 5-on-5 defense and the penalty killing. How much of that is a matter of focus, and as a coach, how do you address that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The difference between the 5-on-5 defensive play and the penalty killing, is that
I think,
just a matter of focus, and what do you do to address that?
Doug touched on that. I mean, it's you sit there and you say you can be the best team in the league with one man short, and and the opposite with five guys on the ice. So obviously you're in a different mindset when you get out there in a penalty kill than you are in a 5-on-5, and there's certain things obviously that you have to do. But I just think it's coming back, and it's working as a 5-man unit in your defensive zone. And I think right now we're a little bit fragmented with that. And one mistake's leading to two, and obviously then that opens up the scoring areas. So we got to play more as a 5-man unit on an even strength basis.
Curtis?
Bob, you mentioned the mixed emotions you feel right now. I mean, you had a chance to talk with Pete. Would he have any conversation, share that conversation at all?
Yeah, I talked to all those guys by phone yesterday, and I went to Pete's place last night, and I sat with a couple of them in his living room and had a chat. And they're unbelievable people, as you know, and guys that are excited to probably get into the next journey of where they're going to go. Also excited for us. I mean, they have deep roots here and a lot of loyalty to the Sharks, so they want to see us do well. They want us to see us succeed, and it was good just to be able to sit face to face with those guys last night.
Mahal?
Bob, one of the key talks about the Sharks in general is this inconsistency, and I think Doug alluded to that, winning 11 of 13 and then losing 5 in a row on the road. What are your thoughts on that, and what changes you think needs to be made for that?
Well, I think the best teams in the leagues are the teams that play the same way every night. And when the puck drops, what they're going to do, and how they're going to play, and it's to a man. And I think that that's where we need to get to. There, I think there's another level to our game. I think obviously that comes with consistency, but I really believe that this team has more. And let's look at it. We're 5 points out with 49 games to go. We got to pull our socks up, obviously, and we got to make some improvements, some adjustments. But more than anything, it's getting the guys to play as a team, play together, and and make sure that consistency is there.
Shane?
Bob, can you talk a little bit about your coaching philosophy? What's different? When you went to Florida, you talked about bringing more instinctual play. Is that something that you hope to incorporate? Instinctual play.
Yeah.
Is that something you hope to incorporate here?
I think so. I think I think teams get into patterns, and I think right now, if you had to describe our team by one word, maybe we're a little bit predictable right now, and that's in all three zones of the ice. So my job is to come in here and obviously change that. And make sure that the guys are seeing something new and are getting excited about it. And I think that's going to be half the battle, obviously, is just getting out there and getting excited and get behind the change. And the rest and the philosophy and the X and O's are going to come out here in the next little while. But today is just a day where we're going to stick together as a family and as a team and go out there and try and play with a lot of pride.
Rossi?
Nabby's role is probably pretty defined, but in terms of on the bench, who's going to be making D changes? Who's in charge of special teams? How are you divvying up the roles with the assistants?
Yeah, well, we met last night as a staff, and this morning we're still going to work through some things. But Mike Ricci and Roy are going to be on the bench with me, and Roy's going to move to the defense side and help out and run some power play. Reach has obviously been a great penalty killer his whole career, and I think we're going to be able to draw on some of that expertise on the penalty kill. I'll be running the forwards and obviously Nabby the goalies, but there's still some job responsibility things that we're going to sort out in the next few days. But for now, I think that those guys are excited, obviously, and it was a big day for them as well.
Danny in the back, and then Curtis.
So Patrick and Joe both played with Nabokov and Ricci, and what kind of dynamic does that bring to the bench and to the room?
Well, I think you could see even in the morning there's that rapport there. I mean, there's a deep respect, but obviously there's a lot of familiarity with those guys, and I think that's going to help. I think that Mike Ricci and Roy have seen these young guys all the way up, and like you said, they've played with Mike's played with Joe and Patty. So guys that they just bleed teal. I think that their whole life has been about the San Jose Sharks organization and try and get them to that level and be a championship team. So I think it's a great chemistry we're going to have there.
Curtis?
Bob, not to put what's happened so far on just one or two guys, but you see the struggles that Brent Burns has as far as getting back on the score sheet. You're known for having a real good rapport with him and bringing out the best in him. How do you get him back to that Norris Trophy sort of winning level?
I know sometimes from the outside looking in, it does. I thought Brett Burns was probably our most consistent player our first 10, 15 games of the season. And, I think probably didn't show as much because the team was struggling a little bit back then. But, Burns is in a good spot. I think he's, we're going to use him a little differently, I think. But for him, it's a confidence thing. And with our team, it's a confidence thing. And I think that's my job to make sure that, when he gets out there, that he's a player he can be, and the team's a player the team that we can be. So I'm very comfortable and confident that Burnsy's going to take the ball and run with it.
On the right in the back.
Coach, just wondering how you're approaching this opportunity, and what do you think you have to do with this opportunity to one day have that interim tag removed from your title?
It's a better question for Doug, or no? No, you know what? I mean, I'm not focused on that right now. I think what we're focused on is getting this team to the level we need to be. And, I believe if you do that, the rest takes care of itself. So, I've been in this position before. Doug mentioned it, that I've learned a lot in my last job, and I continue to learn every day. And I think that there's things that I'm going to take from that experience and that I'm going to apply here. And I'm just excited to have the opportunity and the responsibility and take this challenge right now.
Okay, Bob, I think we'll go ahead and let you go. Thank you for your time. Good luck tonight. And we'll follow the same procedure and turn it over to Doug Wilson.
Doug, throughout the summer, we heard a lot about the younger players getting that chance to step up and contribute this season, and it hasn't quite happened. Maybe they haven't had the impact that you guys had expected. How much of that is, why we're here today, and will Bob coming in, lead to some of those guys getting more of an opportunity than they did?
Well, first of all, under the cap system, every team has a blend. You need to integrate younger players in, and we have to be careful when we talk about younger players. It's not just the players that are coming up that have been with the Barracuda. It's players like Kevin LeBanc or Timo Meier that are evolving up in roles within our team. Obviously, you take a look at the staff that we've put together. Yes, they have a developmental and teaching background, which is very important. But teaching doesn't stop right there. Somebody mentioned, Joe Thornton and Patty Marlowe having played with Mike Ricci. Players teach also, and so that's a big part of it. You look at, we've been disjointed. The start of our season, obviously we got a suspension, we had some injuries, we had Eric Carlson coming back from fairly serious surgery. We didn't get off to a good start, and some of the young players were putting in roles that they probably weren't ready for or weren't fair to, which is one of the reasons why I brought Patrick Marleau back. What you want to do is put people in roles that they need to be in to succeed and be successful. Sometimes it's easier to play a younger player with better players, play them up in the lineup, which is maybe a better fit for them to break in. You may see that tonight. Boogie is going to put Blitchfield in tonight and play him with some better players. Then it allows other people to be in proper roles and slide down a little bit. So there's no point A to point B in how you do that while you're still trying to win games, and you sometimes get thrown off point by, as I say, injuries, suspensions, and things like that. In November, when we kind of got our group back together and we played, and make no mistake, yes, we won 11 of 13, but as I say, there was games that, like the Winnipeg game, that we played extremely well, we didn't win. So you're looking for trends of playing the right way, and the measurables that we talked about. Games, I think 17 through 25 or whatever it was, we were really playing well and doing the right things. When we regressed back, that's a collective problem with our team. And I think it's easy to go to the younger players or whatever. We all have to take responsibility. You know, when a coaching change happens, we all own the responsibility, management, players, etc. We just didn't play the right way. And I think you've got to hold everybody to the same level of accountability and responsibility. There's teams in this league that have a lot of injured players. The veterans step up and actually set the tone playing properly. Logan Couture came out a week ago and said, hey, if you want to be better offensively, just take care of the D zone and take care of that slot area. It's really that simplistic, and that applies to all our players, not just young players, mid-range players, and older players also.
Back right.
Harrison,
Yes.
did you feel that in light of your experience in 2015, when you didn't make a move and you waited till the end of the year, did that color your decision-making now and to make a move before it's too late?
In the coaching position?
Yes.
Yes, you know what? Honestly, that would be correct. And you've got to keep your, you know, this is a group, and in this league, and Boogie said to you, we're only a few points out of a playoff spot if you get back on a roll. We've showed that we can get on a roll. In the West, there's a lot of teams that are up doing very well that historically haven't done. So who knows what it's going to take and where you're going to have to get to make the playoffs. But we will never give up on this season. We know that if we play the right way, we feel the coaching staff and the players feel that we can put ourselves in that position. How we perform will dictate what we do later in the year. But there was just something about our team that the energy level didn't feel right. You could just feel it. And this is what I got to, Pete DeBoer put so much of his energy and his work and his whole staff into this. At some point, it could be like dog years. Coaching 5 years is a long time. And we felt that we needed to make a change, not because of what he wasn't doing, but maybe a new voice, a new energy, a new juice to get that joy and get us going. But there's something that needed to be addressed, and that was why the decision was made. And I did not make that decision a few years ago. We didn't have the people that I was looking at viable alternatives. Actually, we're dealing with health issues at that time. We have this staff that has been blessed by Pete. He, knows and respects Boogie and the other staff members, so there's continuity there, and we feel comfortable with the staff that we've now put in place. That's a good question.
Mahal?
Doug, one of the tough decisions you made in the offseason was with Joe Pawalski. And with him out of the lineup, what kind of impact did you think that had in the locker room, and do you think the team is over that?
Well, every year your team changes. Every year there's decisions that are made contractually, and I'm a huge Joe Pavelski fan. I was president of the Players Association. I fought for players to have the rights to make decisions contractually and have those choices. As a 35-year-old player, he made a choice, and I respect that. And Joe Pavelski will always be remembered as a Shark and a great player here. But you also have to realize the evolution of your team. The Timo Meyers, the Kevin Labancs, the Tomas Hertls, they're also going to step up and need to be compensated under a cap system. So yes, we miss Pavs as a player and as a person being around here every day, but we're also blessed to have what he taught all the other players to be able to learn and grow from that. Logan Couture has been able to reap the benefit of being around some great captains and great people and how he handles situations, but as is Tomas Hertl, Timo Meier, Kevin Labanc, you go through our group. Players are going to change teams. Players are entitled to decisions, and that's just the nature of this business.
Craig?
With a
a different cap situation and maybe fewer future assets that have already been mortgaged in deals in previous years, like you said, you're not in the business usually of firing coaches in season. Do you think this would have been a trade situation to shake up the room, or were there systemic things that you saw that necessitated a change behind the bench?
I think it was the energy thing that I was talking about. There was just something that was out of sorts, and we played some really good hockey against some really good teams, and then would regress back a little bit. As far as your other point, yes, you have to give to get when you're looking for difference makers, and those are decisions on the assets and how you use them. But you also have to draft and develop and make this be a place players want to play when it comes to younger players, why the Barracuda and the staff we've put together is so important. We feel like we have the bones of a really good hockey team that sits very well for now if we get on top for a game, but also prepares us for going forward. When you're drafting in the place that we've been drafting in, your assets, you have to accurately value those assets. And a top 3 or top 5 pick is completely different than drafting in the 28th spot, which is our average draft position since 2003. So it's a competitive league. Getting players and acquiring players, in most cases you either have to give to get, or you have to utilize cap space, which is actually an asset also.
Shang and then Curtis in front of him.
You talked about slot chances being a particular issue this year. I presume that wasn't so much the issue last year. So what's been some of the differences?
You know what? We've talked about this since the beginning of the season, and whether it's focus, whether it's attitude, it's interesting. Bob talked about when you're killing penalties, it's to prevent the other team from scoring. So you come back in the urgency, even though you're a man less. So it's positioning, it's sticks in the right lanes, not, I don't like the word cheating, but hoping and going the other way. So if you can apply that approach 5-on-5, you'd think you can be very strong at it. If you can take the idea that, okay, it's not just to prevent the other team from scoring, but now we want to get the puck back so we can attack offensively. That's really the mindset that you have to have. When we do that well, we're a very good hockey team. Arguably the best team in the league at doing that this year is the Islanders. Look at their results. That is one area of the game that's the genesis of a lot of things that if you clean that up, I think it impacts your possession time. I think it impacts the connection of how you play the game from one zone to the next game. It may also impact the number of penalties that you have. If you have the puck, the other team will probably take more penalties. So when we're chasing things, so it's a long answer to a simple question, but I think it's a very impactful part of our game that if you clean that area up, a lot of other good things fall into place.
Curtis.
Doug, was there, Pete had talked for most of the season about wanting a 4-line identity for this team. Was there a bit of a disconnect in that he didn't feel he had maybe some of the depth players that he maybe required to sort of have that sort of system? And was it between you and him as far as that feeling of having a complete team at this stage to be able to compete on a night in, night out basis?
No, we talked about this a lot in the summertime. We talked about giving players opportunities, and a lot of the young players that we have ingredients that can kind of integrate you into a team quickly, whether it be Noah Gregor, Dylan Gambrell, Antti Suomela. They're all penalty-killing guys. They have penalty-killing backgrounds. I think what happens is when you get off to a start, and when you go back to the first few games, we had 4 defensemen get injured. We had Eric not quite 100%. We had Evander get suspended. We had Marcus Sorensen get injured. Is that we then had to play players in advanced roles. What you'd like to be able to do is put players in and slide guys down where you have a 4-line team which you can roll. And I think Pete feels very comfortable with that. Some teams go 7-11. They'll use 7D. I think John Cooper in Tampa has used it over 100 times. So there's different ways to do it. You can also get extra ice time for some top wingers, whether it be Kaner or Timo Meier, and slide them down. So there's different ways to approach it. But we both talked about knowing that we didn't have a finished team yet. When you're trying to integrate players in and younger players and give them opportunities, every year since I've been doing this and Pete's been here, we've added players the year goes forward. You try and find what the pieces are that you need and identify those. And that's what we've always done. I think it got magnified a little bit by the slow start. And then you go through the 11 out of 13 games that we won, the two teams that we lost to at that point, Winnipeg and Edmonton, didn't really have dominant fourth lines. So you have to look at the ingredients you have in your team. There's no perfect team. We're certainly not a perfect team. How we evolve and who comes up and takes regular roles or regular jobs will be seen. And if we needed to add people, we're always in that position, and we've done that every year since I've been here.
Kevin?
Doug, how much of the team's struggles simply boil down to the goalies need to make more saves?
Well, I think what Bob touched on was really important, is how you play individually and how you play collectively. We haven't played properly collectively, and we've given up the most quality slot chances of any team in the league. And I don't care who you are, if you're giving up that many quality chances, you're not necessarily giving your goaltending the opportunity that they need. That's on everybody. Having said that, though, the goalies would be the first to tell you that they need to play better. Nabby will come in with, I think, a different vision and approach, which will be very beneficial. But we also must remember that Martin Jones has got the second most wins of any goalie in the league since we acquired him. We don't get by Vegas last year. We don't get to the finals. Deller's come in and played some really good games. So a couple of times I mentioned some games that really bothered me. The Arizona game, the Buffalo game. We should have been blown out the first period. Our goalies kept us in those games. Our penalty killing is #1 in the league. A lot of that is goaltending. So I think our players, our group, and our coaches understand that the responsibility and not blame, but ability to make other players have a chance to be successful is on every one of them. And the sooner we do that, the better our goaltending will be, the better our team will be, the better our 5-on-5 play will be, and it truly is all connected.
In the back on the right?
Doug, two-part question from what I asked Bob earlier. What does he have to do and show you to have that interim tag removed? And in terms of coaching search, will you wait until the season is over to start beginning the process?
Did Bob leave the building yet? No. No, that's the beauty of Bob and Nabby and Reach and Roy. This is all about right now. And I brought in people that are very relatable to our players, that they trust immensely. This is all about team. And you take a look at it. We put a lot of thought, a lot of input into this staff for a lot of reasons. And I think they can walk in that room. I saw the impact of our players this morning. It was a very difficult day because everybody, me, all our players, all our staff had such great respect for Pete that you've got mixed emotions today, not sure how to react and how to feel. But then when they move to get ready for tonight's game, they look and they respect Bob. They respect Reach and Nabby and Roy, and that's what you have to have. It'll play itself out. I expect Bob to have learned from his experiences in Florida. He has his own ideas and thoughts which he's going to apply, but the players trust him and believe in him, and I think he'll bring that energy and juice and joy to the game that I think our group needs right now.
Wow.
Doug, the sport definitely have evolved more towards speed and finesse players. But what about the physicality aspect of the team, and what are your thoughts on Sharks responding to when other teams are very physical?
Well, you have to have a blend. You have to be able to play many different ways against many different teams. We have that type of blend. We have as many big power forwards as anybody, whether it be Timo or Kane or Tomas Hertl, Jumbo at Barclay Goodrow, etc. But you also have to play a possession game. And if you take a look at the really good teams, they have the genesis of their offense comes from their back end, which we're very fortunate to have that. I'm not sure, and Bob talked about it, that we've utilized them to the best of their abilities, and I think there'll be some adjustments there. And then you got to be strong down the middle too, in the center position. So looking at different ways to play games. You may play a game, I think we play the Islanders, it's going to be a close checking tight game. You've got to be committed to that. There's other teams like a Tampa, you get down 2 or 3 goals to them, you open it up, good luck trying to keep up with their talent level. But every team will look at it and say they have their strengths and weaknesses. You need to have the ability and a blend to be able to play against every single team. When we went to the Stanley Cup Finals, we had some physical guys, we had some skill guys, we had different players that would step up in different series. The regular season is the same way. You're going to have different opponents that will try and play a different way. We think we can answer to most of those situations.
Curtis.
Doug, do you feel, is there enough cap flexibility right now for you guys to add a player before the deadline? And is that a decision you have to sort of make in the next few couple months before the deadline occurs to whether or not this team maybe has earned the right to sort of get another player. Do you have enough flexibility right now to add some players?
Well, there's different ways to have flexibility. One, you can build cap space. When you get small lingering injuries, it inhibits the cap growth between now and the trade deadline. You can also have certainly a player could go out, which could create cap space. A lot of the hockey deals in this league, with the cap not going up much this year, there was a lot of teams that were surprised by that, and I think are fairly close to the cap. So you have to look at money in, money out. But we'll be able to acquire some cap space and build some cap space between now and then. Right now we're focused on the players that we have, getting the best out of their game and playing to the best of their capability. But you always have an eye on trying to explore ways to make your team better.